PRC, quality service since 1972. Repairing TVs, console stereos, electronic musical instruments, pinball machines, arcade games, and more. Call 836-0454.
This is the Weather Extreme video. This is for Monday morning, the 5th of January, 2009. James Spann here, back in the saddle again after an extended Christmas break. Thanks to Brian Peters for covering in my absence, but a lot to talk about, and let's get right to it this morning. This is one of our most interesting months of weather in the state. We'll begin with a foggy look at Gulf Shores. And that's on top of the Phoenix Alt Suites, looking back off to the west down over the public beach. And the visibility is so bad you can barely see down there. And basically what they've got is a temperature of 66 and a dew point of 66. And we'll see if that air can work its way up in here. I think it can tomorrow, in that the surface front that's coming through is just about stalled out this morning, as you'll see. Tuscaloosa in the fog, and that's the view looking from the Tuscaloosa County Courthouse back up toward the Hugh Thomas Bridge. And by golly, it's a foggy look over on the eastern side of the state, up at Mount Cheahaw. But then again, that's 2,400 feet there, and they are often in the clouds. Well, there's the surface chart this morning. A pretty strong cold front is easing through Alabama, but it's about come to a dead halt. Big surface high north of Kansas City. Awfully cold back in there, but the front is parallel to the upper air winds, as you can see. And there's really nothing to push it south except for the weight of the cold air. And accordingly, we'll see a pretty sharp gradient across the deep south today with very cold air to the north and warm air to the south. There's a look at the thermal contrast this morning. Even in Alabama, temperatures in the Birmingham metro are around 60, but you go up to the Shoals, and they're sitting closer to 40 up there. It's a 20-degree swing, so our friends in Haleyville and Hamilton will be kind of shivering today, but down to the south it will be quite mild. And look at all the cold air up north. I see some, minus 29 Fahrenheit sitting up on the Canadian North Dakota border. Brutally cold up there. We'll keep an eye on that. In advance of the frontal band of showers and thunderstorms this morning that's been progressing through the state rather nicely. I see at my place I picked up 1/2 inch of rain in North Shelby County. That's as of about 5 o'clock, and the main band of showers and storms from the Atlanta metro down toward Montgomery, along and just north of Interstate 85. And again, that front is just about run out of gas. Now, the front's going to back up as a warm front, and that's going to set the stage for some good rains. In fact, look at that. We got a flash flood watch now for a large part of Mississippi, the Tennessee Valley of North Alabama, Huntsville's CWA, and then back up into eastern and middle Tennessee and North Georgia, where some flooding problems could develop. And I think that's a pretty good placement. The heaviest axis of the rain should be north of the warm front, which probably will get up around a line from Jackson to Huntsville. Here's a look at the QPF graphic, and this is suggesting some folks up there could see 5 inches of rain. And understand, we'll see some good rains down here with the cold front coming through tomorrow night. And we could easily pick up 1 to 2 inches of rain down here as 2009 getting off to a wet start. In terms of severe weather, we don't have any formal risk defined today. And again, we don't expect any, but tomorrow there's a look at our slight risk that covers about the southern two-thirds of Alabama, basically along and south of U.S. 278 or south of a line from Hamilton to Cullman to Gadsden, your classic low instability, high shear winter event. And those can be problematic. Certainly not a classic setup, but we'll dig deeper and drill into that here in just a moment. We'll look at the big picture for today. This is coming off the 06C GFS founded at noon. And there's a polar vortex up over Canada and a strong trough coming through Mexico. And down below that, with that front stalling out and backing up, we'll mention a few periods of rain today and tonight. Probably the heaviest rain will be off to the west, and there could be some freezing rain. Understand out there in Dallas-Fort Worth and Little Rock, you see those high thickness values, and you think, well, that's no big deal, but understand that is the thickness between 1,000 and 500 millibars. It really doesn't reflect shallow cold air down at the surface in the lower 2,000 feet, and that's what they've got. So there could be some freezing rain today for Dallas and Little Rock, and they'll have to watch that. Tomorrow, the trough begins to move out, very dynamic system, and at the surface, this is suggesting the heavier rains again tomorrow should be north of the warm front. I really think the sun might even break out for a while tomorrow for Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Anniston, Gadsden, with the consistent heavy rain up in the Tennessee Valley and points north, along and north of the front. And then tomorrow night at midnight, That's a pretty good-looking trough there, and down below that, that's when it looks like the most active window for severe weather will be, probably 6 to midnight tomorrow night. We'll peek at a couple of parameters coming off the Florida State Wharf, which is a good regional model that they run. And again, there's a look at the accumulated precipitation for the next 72 hours, and you can clearly see the axis of the heavier rain setting up over North Mississippi and the northern part of Alabama and up in that flash flood watch area. Now look at the instability values for Tuesday afternoon, and this is Cape, and not much. You know, that's always the problem with these things. The instability values are pretty marginal. This is suggesting Capes of 100 to 250 joules up into North Alabama Tuesday evening. And typically for the big spring outbreaks, you like to see those numbers in excess of 2,000 joules. So that is the limiting factor, but the helicity, yeah, pretty high. It is a very sheared environment across the state. And that means if we can see some storms rooted in the surface boundary, they could rotate. There could be a few isolated tornadoes. So just something to think about. And again, I'm really thinking the greatest window of severe weather, 6 to midnight, maybe a few isolated severe storms late tomorrow afternoon. And then Wednesday, that looks pretty cold. Now, understand that is very cold air just north of us, and that will allow that in here with a trough passing on through. And that's even suggesting it might be cold enough Wednesday for a few morning snow flurries here. We're not going to go on that bandwagon just yet. Even if it happens, it's no big deal, but it should be sharply colder. We don't get out of the 40s, and up in the Tennessee Valley, they could be in the 30s all day. And then Thursday, the weather cool and dry, and again, we note that little lobe coming through Tennessee, suggesting maybe some snow showers up there for places like Nashville and Knoxville and Gatlinburg, but that will more than likely stay north of here. And then Friday, things look calm with temperatures where they should be with a sunny sky. Saturday, a little front comes in here with a chance of showers, a surface boundary. Doesn't look like a big rain event. And then Sunday, that feature passes us on by to the northeast, and we got a northwest flow aloft, and that would be a cool, dry day with maybe a high around 50 or maybe in the 40s and lows by Monday in the 20s. Now, early next week, here comes the next issue. Monday looks pretty quiet, but check out Tuesday of next week, the 13th, week from tomorrow. The gates to the Yukon are open, if this is right. And down below that, by golly, that's a winter storm threat a week from tomorrow, if this is right. That's suggesting a good 1 to 3 inch snow here. But before we get excited, well, first off, you know, I've been gone for a long time, and I don't like to jump on things like this early when I get back. But can it happen? Sure, the GFS has hinted of this for a long time. And again, look at the NAO now. This is the North Atlantic Oscillation, lower chart, strongly negative out here in that period. But look at the end now. It goes positive, so I think we'll get a big cold air blast next week. And it might be colder than some people think based on the observed air up there. Forget the computer models. But as we go positive, I think we'll begin to see a big thaw toward the end of the month if we do get very cold next week. And again, there's a look at Wednesday the 14th, and again, you can see a very, very cold pattern for much of the eastern half of the nation. But we go to the 20th, and we get a southwest flow aloft. And the cold air is gone over much of the east, and again, I think that's when the thaw begins. So, as always, it is going to be a very interesting month in weather to watch all of this stuff, and you bet we'll be doing that. That's it for the Weather Xtreme video today. We'll have notes on the blog, alabamawx.com, if you're watching this on iTunes or YouTube. Next video here by 3:30 today. Hey, we're back on that 2-a-day schedule now that the Christmas season is over, back to the regular work routine. And catch us on television this evening if you'd like, ABC 3340 News at 5, 6, and 10. Again, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.